has never been a more important time to move in a vegan direction. Whether you're ready to start, restart, or re-energize your vegan or plant-based practice, this podcast is for you. I'm Michelle Olander, life coach, vegan, ADHD matriarch, travel lover, and smoothie loather. And I know that it's the details that get in the way of your vegan journey. But I like to believe that the obstacle is always the way. So every week we meet here where I translate the tools of life coaching and Stoic philosophy. I bring you actionable tips, some laughs, interesting guests, and vegan ideas for everyone at any age. All to help you veg your best. Episode 203, vegan? Plant-based? What's the point? Welcome back, my Veg Your Bestie. Welcome back, and if you're new here, please consider yourself so welcome here at Veg Your Best. It has been a full-on summer so far here at Veg Your Best, and as I record this, we have two fresh new grandchildren, the 6th and 7th ones in 4 years, and the third one in 2024, which I guess could be described as an embarrassment of riches. Number 6 and 7 arrived about 2 weeks apart, two different moms, I hope that's clear, and I was lucky enough to be asked to go help with the older siblings, and today, I am beginning to feel a little bit of my focus return. Now, as you may know, if you follow here, I have not been taking on any new clients for normal one-on-one coaching this summer, and I have not been planning a lot of interviews because I wanted to be on call for these babies and their tired families. Plus, 2 of our other grandchildren and their parents are staying with us for a few weeks. So I fully get it when people tell me that they're overwhelmed or they don't have the bandwidth to take on a big new project. And I don't argue when people say they've got a lot going on. But I also know that when I feel that way, yeah, I want some sympathy, yeah, but I don't want you to necessarily buy the story that I can't, that I don't know, that it's not possible, because it happens to me regularly. I find myself thinking, what on earth is the point? Maybe I should just shut everything down, fold the podcast, give up Veg Your Best, give up this business, this activism. Well, at least temporarily. And you know, when all these babies started to show up on our radar, I kept noticing my mind saying over and over, you can't have both. You can't be the mother and the grandmother you want to be, the support you want to be for your family, not to mention the wife and the individual and the friend you want to be. You can't do all of that and put out a podcast every week and be a coach to accompany folks on their vegan and plant-based journeys. You just can't. And the weekly email and starting, the mission of Vegan at Any Age and the new website, I do it too. I think about why I can't. I think all the reasons why it won't work, why it would be too much, why the quality is going to suffer. And if the quality suffers, what's the point? And if I made a plan and had to cancel it, maybe made a date to record an interview or to coach a client, and then the grandbaby came and my kids needed me, what would happen? And if I stop recording interviews for the summer, maybe I should just put the pod on hiatus. I've thought about all of it. I think about, if I'm not taking on new coaching clients, maybe I should just fold this coaching practice, make this be the end. And if you've been following along at home, my website has been a journey. It's been an incomplete project for about a year. So since everything has basically been okay without a good website, I keep thinking, maybe I should just give up on it. What difference does it even make? blah, 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 right? I am not immune to self-defeating self-talk. And I have no idea what to do lots of the time. I often find myself wondering if this even matters, or if there's a more effective way I could go about if I did some more research or found the right person. And then I think, oh, maybe next season or next year or after such and such happens. And in the meantime, I need to line up a new doctor and work on my strength training and pay taxes. And you regular listeners will know that I canceled not one, but 2 trips this spring to Europe, which has never, ever happened. Because I just had too much going on in my brain. I couldn't even get myself excited to go. And so I tell you all this so that you know I get it. I get it. For big reasons and for little reasons, unwanted reasons and delightful reasons, things can feel hard and overwhelming or impossible or doubtful. And we can throw our hands up and ask ourselves, does it really matter? And that's a rhetorical question, right? My dad used to always push back against rhetorical questions. And rhetorical questions, just as a refresher, those are questions that sound kind of thoughtful, but they're not actually asked to learn anything. They are questions that are posed for reasons other than to obtain information. They sound like questions, but they typically are a little bit dramatic or maybe passive-aggressive. What's a good one? Like, what time do you call this when a loved one shows up late? Or, what has my brother-in-law ever done for me? Or, do you ever do anything without being told? Those are some of my favorites. Where is all this going? When is this going to stop? These are not questions that we ask that actually expect an answer. And we all do it. We all do it. But I think it's really, really important to notice when we are in the middle of one of these, when we're asking a real question or a rhetorical question. Because it's not the real questions that we tend to perseverate on, to have floating in our brains all day. It's the rhetorical questions. Those are the ones we tend to have on a loop. What difference does it make? Who cares? Is this even a good use of our time? What were you even thinking? What's the point? You get it, right? These are kind of empty phrases, and I hear them most of the time when people are stuck, when people are spinning, and they just don't really know where to begin, how to make things better, what direction to focus on. But the thing is, after years of being coached and coaching others, I do notice when a lot of those questions are getting through and I'm not interrogating them, when I'm not grabbing them and going, what does that actually mean? Because the way I learned to coach, you can for sure have any thought you want to have and you can decide anything you want to decide. But sometimes these questions that are on repeat don't really even make sense. For example, what's the point? What's the point? Does that even make sense to have as a thought going over and over? Rhetorical questions can actually emphasize apathy and overwhelm, especially with big challenges or new ideas like going vegan or plant-based. What's the point? What difference will it make? Well, how do we potentially turn some of those questions around? So if the concept on your mind is moving in a vegan or a plant-based direction, let's answer it. Let's answer it. What is the point? If one of the reasons you started kicking around the idea of limiting or eliminating the consumption of animal products, if one of the reasons was ethical or feelings of compassion, you might have an answer to what's the point. You might actually have an answer. The point might be to reduce animal suffering. It might be to notice what power you have to make a change in your life that eliminates that sort of choice. You might be thinking, well, the point is I get to contribute to the welfare of animals and take a stand against animal cruelty. One of the points could be, I want to use the choices and the power that I do have to live in a way I'd like to see other people live. Now, if environmental impact was one of the reasons that got you thinking about a plant-based journey, well, maybe your response is, what's the point? The point is to help the environment the one way I can. Plant-based diets require fewer resources. They produce fewer greenhouse gas emissions compared to meat-based diets. There's less water usage. There's less pollution. It doesn't destroy forests and grasslands the way intensive animal agriculture does. Maybe that's a point. Or maybe when you think, what's the point? You answer, oh, well, the point is to make some improvements in my health or in my family's health. Or if you're like most of the vegans that I know, one of those reasons is the point you enter through, and the other reasons reinforce. But now, of course, it's possible. It's possible that when you ask yourself, what is the point? It's possible that you don't have any reasons. And maybe there's no point, so you can then decide not to have this open loop of a rhetorical question rolling around in your brain. You can just decide, you know what, there's no point for me. Put that to bed. It doesn't have to be permanent, but you can decide to think about it another time. That's when you answer, what's the point? The point is, I don't see a point. Okay, fair enough. Maybe you're in that stage of pre-contemplation that we talked about on a previous episode. Pre-contemplation where you just don't have a why right now. And maybe if there's some portion of you that feels that you do want to move in a plant-based or vegan direction, and when you ask yourself, what's the point, you don't have one, maybe that's what is missing. So maybe that's what you're going to want to keep your mind open for. What are some reasons it makes sense for me? What are some points that would matter to me? And of course, you can always just use that veg your best method and break down this idea of plant-based or vegan into something that you can do right now while you develop the point for you. So, over 200 consecutive weekly episodes, I have often said to myself, oh my gosh, what's the point? But then I answer. Because when I'm thinking, what's the point? That feels like the thing you do just before you shut down all the doors, right? But then I answer, oh, the point is that I actually have an opportunity to help normalize the idea of coaching being helpful in behavior change, and especially coaching is helpful in moving towards a vegan practice. And for me, that matters way beyond my own personal day-to-day experience. And then another point, well, even one person, if there's one person who sticks with it or feels a little more validated on their plant-based journey because of the podcast, that's me making a huge difference, and I'm really proud about that. And sometimes the point is, you know what I'm doing? I am demonstrating that women of what used to be called non-traditional age can build a business and make a difference and show up. And the point is, sometimes for me, it's that every time I show up when I think I don't know what to do, I learn something and I grow my own self-trust. And the point sometimes is, well, taking a week off isn't really necessary when there are so many more topics I could share. And the point is, not showing up doesn't actually make it any easier. And another point is, my kids and grandkids get to see that there's no expiration date on living a life that means something to you. So that's a few ways I could answer, what's the point when I'm feeling overwhelmed? But I could also take take a break, right? I could also decide to cancel things or to postpone things. And that is exactly what I did on taking new clients this summer, so that I knew that I would have the focus for them. And I also took a break with guest interviews, which I'm about to rev up. And I took a break with pitching myself to be on other podcasts, which I am now ready to focus more on. And yeah, I have an appointment with my website person in the morning. So I took a break on some of the things, and you can decide anything you want. I just want to encourage you not to let what's the point or what difference does it make or who cares mean something to you. Answer those questions. Answer them. Questions like, what difference does it make? Who's got time for that? Who's going to get on board with that? Answer what the rhetorical question is that you, I think, are hiding behind. And it's completely normal, but I think also completely optional. And like all the obstacles in the way of what we want to do and how we want to show up, if we interrogate it, if we answer it, we end up getting a glimpse of what it is we could do. The impediment to action advances the action. You do not need to do what's impossible for you right now, okay? No one's asking that. But instead of waiting for what you can't do right now to change, what can you do? What difference does it make? Ask yourself, who does have time for it? What is the point? You get to notice the point when your brain throws out those questions. All you have to do is answer them. And maybe share them. Say them out loud. You can certainly ask me about it, but tell someone who does have your back where you feel a little stuck and what you think when you're feeling stuck. I think it's literally amazing how just being precise and clear in your language can help you find direction when you're stuck. So please do that. Don't just let those unconscious thoughts swirl in your brain. Answer the question. Answer them. What is the point? I will be back next week, but in the meantime, please think about how you can veg your best.
Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.